everybody. We are on our way home from Birmingham, which is about an hour from where we live, and we wanted to get some content out to you guys, so we thought we would do a Q&A kind of video, some frequently asked questions that we get. Thought we would take this time without kids to answer those questions for you. So the first question that we get a lot is, do you do this full-time? Do you farm full-time, homestead full-time? And no, we do not. That's not like our full-time income. Matt and I both have jobs. Matt has a full-time job outside of home, outside of our homesteading business. So you want to talk about your job?
Yeah, so I work in ministry. I am a pastor at a church here in Alabama. I get to oversee small groups and pastoral care and outreach. So yeah, so that's my full-time job.
Yep. And I was previously an elementary school teacher, and then we brought our kids home for homeschooling, so that is what I do now. But I also have an events business. It's called Glamping Alabama, and so we do backyard tents and indoor sleepovers and things like that for mostly birthday parties. So while that is my full-time job, I guess, is just kind of mostly part-time hours. But it does, those things do keep us busy. So obviously we want to encourage you guys that if you are interested in homesteading and farming and all that, that it can be done in like those fringe hours around a full-time job and other commitments. All right.
I think too is building a system that allows you to do that, to work full time. So whether that's like our pigs, we have a system set up to where we feed them, but we only have to feed them like every 3 to 4 days. We only have to water them every 3 or 4 days because we built in a system so that they don't need us actively having to feed them and water them every day. We do go lay eyes on them and make sure they're good and all that kind of stuff, but that makes it easier. I would say every animal we have a system set up to where we're not having to feed them and water them every day. We'll do bulk feed that will last a day or two, and so that helps out on time. I would say we probably spend about an hour in the morning and then maybe an hour in the afternoon each day checking and actively watering and feeding the animals. Now, there's projects that take longer, which adds hours to your work, or to the hours that need to be worked for the farm. But all in all, like, one of the questions I get asked all the time is like, man, how many hours do you put in a week? And I'm like, maybe an hour or two a day. And so that normally looks like me getting up, and I'll go out to the farm around 6, and I'm done by 7 every morning. And then in the afternoons, my dad and I kind of alternate who goes out in the afternoons to check on the animals just to make sure they're good and there's not any issues. But it's doable. It's definitely doable.
Yeah, and like something to consider is the kind of animals that you have. So for instance, the meat birds, when we do have those, we only have them for about 8 weeks. Those do have to be fed and watered every day. Yeah. So that is like a bigger time commitment. They have to be moved, and as they get older, they have to be fed and moved twice a day. So just be mindful of what kind of animals you're getting and what kind of projects you're taking on, but it definitely can be done. So talking about meat birds, we've been pushing out a lot of content about that lately. On YouTube and on our Instagram account, and we're getting a lot of questions about that because I think it's something people are really interested in because they want to raise their own meat. They want to raise high quality meat that they feel good about, that they're not questioning what's in it or what's been done to it. So we've had a lot of questions about that, and our first question that we get is we showed the processing, so butchering them, and we get the question of what plucker do we use? So a lot of people think that we are hand plucking these birds, and while you can do that, it can be done, we do not have the time or nor the patience to do that, because we're raising around like 25 to 50 birds at a time. And so we use the hatching time plucker. We have the largest size, the largest model that they have available, because we also raise turkeys, and so we wanted something that would work for both. So it was a larger investment, but we actually did split the cost with a neighbor, which I would encourage you to do if you have a neighbor or a family member who is interested in homesteading life and raising their own birds. It makes sense to split that price, that investment, because you're not using it very often. You're only using it a couple of times a year, and so that's wise. Another idea would be to rent it out to make your money back, or you could rent one yourself, just to use a couple of times a year. But I'll link below the plucker that we use, and I'll also link below some different models, some smaller models, because if you are only doing chickens, you do not need the largest model like we have. But we've been really pleased with it. We've used it 3 times now. We've done chickens twice and turkeys once with it.
I would say, I'm sorry, I've been driving. So did you tell them what kind of?
Yeah, I told them hatching time and that we have the largest model, but it's not necessary.
No, there's one model larger, I think, that's extra large. Ours is large. There's some pros and cons to the plucker, in my opinion. One, it's lightweight. It was easy to put together. That's great. The plucker works better with 2 chickens in there. I started to say that in the previous video, and I stopped because my dad had turned on the plucker, and when you're spraying water in that plucker, it throws water up, and I didn't want that water to get my mouth, and so I just kind of stopped talking mid-sentence. That's why. But it works better with 2 pluckers, or 2 pluckers. It works better with 2 birds in the plucker at the same time. We've noticed too is we have a 100-foot extension cord, and there's a drop in power, so the amount of turns per second is slower, if that makes sense. So if you can plug directly into a power outlet, or be or have a shorter extension cord, that will probably work better for you. The reason why we knew that is we troubleshot it last time, and we hooked a generator right to it, and it spun quicker and plucked better. So it did fine with chickens with that power drop, but with the turkeys it did not. We had to have it directly plugged in. So there's some pros and cons to this model. I wanted it specifically just because it was a little lightweight. It was easier for me to move around myself. And the worst part about it all is cleaning it. It's not very fun, and there's not a really good way to do it other than just slowly start cleaning out feathers. So that's all I got on that, Caitlin.
Okay, so another question, we put up a video showing how he was using the plucker, and there were birds in there spinning around, and people noticed that they were hearing like a clucking noise. So
they are not alive.
They're not alive. We had people ask if we had live birds in there, and no, they are not alive. But I don't really understand the science behind it, but from
the clucker's still in there.
What I think happens is there's air inside of them. They still have their windpipe and everything inside, so it's still making noise. Their heads are removed though, so they're not alive. Yeah, it's not always a pretty thing. Let's see, what other questions do we get about meat birds?
When we package the meat birds and we put the water, or put the bag, we put the chicken in the bag, and then the bag in the water. We're not cooking the chicken. We're putting the bag in the water, and it pushes all the air out, so it kind of puts a great suction around the chicken.
It's like it's a shrink bag. And so the water it's hot. I think it was like 180 degrees, but it's not boiling. I think to get to boiling, it's like 210 degrees for boiling. So the water's not boiling. It is hot, but it's only dipped in there for a few seconds, and it's removing the air and allowing it to shrink up around it so that we can freeze it. And I also had someone ask if you could just kill a bird when you needed to eat it, and obviously you can. It's just going to take that's just going to take a lot more time. So if you have all the time in the world, sure, you could do that. But for us, the whole setup and like cleanup and all that whole process takes longer than the actual like processing the bird. So it just makes more sense for us to do them all at one time and then have them available in the freezer. And honestly, I've not noticed an issue with the quality of the meat having it been frozen. We cook usually about one whole chicken a week, and so that's one thing that I do encourage you to do, is to make the most of your chicken. So I will cook a whole chicken, and usually it will last us 2 separate meals, because we have 3 kids, but they are they're still younger, so they're not eating quite as much. They're 10, 7, and almost 2. And so I can usually stretch that chicken. I pull it off the bone, use it for 2 different meals, and then I also save the bones, the carcass, and use that to make chicken stock. And so we're just trying to make the most of what we got, and then anything left over can go to the pigs also. So, or you can compost it. So just trying to make the most of what you have.
We get asked about the kids helping.
Yes.
They help to an extent. I think it helped the first time we did it. We had some friends come over, and they brought their kids, and they helped. And I think that helped our kids kind of ease into it. And every time they get a little bit more involved and do a little more. We don't make them do it. If they help for a little bit and they want to go to a grandparent's house, we let them go. We don't want to force them into doing anything. But I think that's the question we get asked all the time. It's like, we can't believe your kids are helping.
Yeah, with processing chickens. Yeah.
And so, like, they didn't help at all the first time.
Not much.
Grayson helped a little.
Yeah,
but
he's our oldest.
Every time, they help a little more and more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they get more comfortable every time. And also, I think that they really enjoy, they specifically enjoy the chicken wings. So they enjoy the meat. They know that the hard work will pay off, and that we get to enjoy the fruit of it. And so it just is becoming more and more just normal and comfortable to them, which is great. And the older they get, the more we would love for them to be involved, not only with that, but just everything on the farm. So right now we do not live on the farm. We live about 8 minutes away in a rental house, but we are in the process of building. And so within the next year, we will be on the property, which will be amazing and will allow us all to be more involved and to be able to do all of it together more often than we can right now, which is one of the biggest reasons we decided to homestead and farm, is because we were looking to have like a project that we could all pitch in together, work together, and just kind of instill a lot of good work ethic into our kids, responsibility, and teach them different life skills that we feel are important. We have gotten asked about our house, like what kind of house we are building, and we are building a barn-dominium, and so that's a little bit different than normal, but we feel like it's going to be an economical choice and get us there on the property faster than doing a traditional build with more space. And also we'll have a shop attached to it, which is what size?
Almost 30 by 40.
Okay.
A little less than 30 foot.
Which will be great because, like I said earlier, I have a glamping business, so we can house our glamping stuff there and no longer have to pay for a storage unit, and then have space for farming things. But we're planning to build a pole barn also, hoping to get that maybe done even before the house. That would be great, just to have more space for storing different things, and if we need an extra space for milking to get out of the weather when it's really rainy or cold, that'll be helpful. for that. So lots of improvements coming to the farm, to the property, but just trying to take it slow and do a little by little what we can when we can.
Yep.
We hope that this was informative, maybe answered some of your questions. If you have other questions or think of anything that maybe we weren't clear on or we didn't answer, please comment below and let us know. We'll be happy to do this again or include it on, you know, one of our other videos. We are heading out of town tomorrow. We are going on vacation. We're going to the beach for a week. So
Vacation?
well, a family trip.
Big difference.
We're taking our children, obviously, and my parents and my sister and brother-in-law are going. So it'll be fun. Not a ton of relaxing, but it will still be fun. It'll be great. So we'll try to catch some clips down there, some footage, and do like a quick little video there. So there might be a week or so before we have regular farm content, but so we'll take you along. Y'all have a great day. Bye.